Hey everybody, it's Angelo here, and I wanted to give everybody a very quick rundown of my experiences in the hospital on the first day and a half. So surgery day, going into the surgical procedure, coming out from under, being under anesthetic, and what that very first day was like. So you're hopefully, if you're have this procedure as something that's going to need to happen to you, hopefully you'll be well prepared for this by your surgical team. But sometimes information is presented and it's not always heard, or maybe something is misstated. So anyway, this is my procedure, my experience going in. So I had what's called a mini thoracotomy procedure to replace my aortic valve, as well as to minimize my left atrial appendage, which basically means to tie it off. So that would resize the chambers of my heart and give me a fresh valve to be able to work with, because my old valve was severely calcified and it was also bicuspid, which means that it had 2 leaflets to it rather than the normal 3. When a valve has 2 leaflets rather than 3, this impacts about 2% of the population, and the valve just has to work harder over the years. And they tend to calcify and wear out faster. It's just what happens. So I managed to, mine lasted me 57 years, which is pretty good. And I did my best to try to live a healthy lifestyle through that time. So, my success at that varied at different times over 57 years, as it would. So nevertheless, so that's what I was scheduled to have, and I had it done up at University of Texas Northwestern, up in Dallas with Dr. Dulab, who as a surgeon and as a physician was fantastic, and his team was fantastic to work with. I can't say enough good things about them. So they were good communicators, they were good listeners, they were responsive to phone calls, at a time in one's life that can be very challenging. So to Dr. Dulab and all of his team, I thank you so much. So when we arrived there the first day, I was supposed to check in at 7:30 a.m. in the hospital. So we got there about 7:15. We checked in administratively, and Dr. Dulab came out to the general waiting area, and he came and sat and chatted a little bit with myself and my wife, Paige. He told us a little bit about what was going to happen in the procedure, he said that it was scheduled to happen at approximately 11 o'clock. It might happen sooner or later, depending on the complexity of his upcoming case that he had. And then once he answered any of the questions that we had going in, then he went off and got started with his surgery day. And they called me in to start getting me prepped for the procedure. So when I got in there, they shaved down the areas that they were going to be working through. So I had body hair shaved off of this armpit right here, chest hair shaved off, general body hair on my whole torso shaved off, down to the pubic hair. And there's catheters that they put in through incisions in my groin through my femoral arteries. Those are the large arteries that run through your legs and then go up to your heart. So, they do catheters through there to access different body parts of the different parts of the heart, rather, and also to be able to apply instruments so that the blood gets redirected to bypass the heart during the procedure itself. Because when you're replacing a valve in the heart, unless it's a drop-in procedure where they drop a new valve in, they have to stop the heart and redirect the blood flow. So anyway, and then the anesthesiologist came in and he told me about the different lines that were going to go in. So there was a line that was the first one that they put in. And it was thoroughly painful. It was not fun going in. Was a line, the incision for it is right here. That was the access point. And this was a device with multiple catheter portals on it. And it went basically down directly into my heart. So the length of the plastic line that was in was about the length of my index finger going in straight down here. So that was one thing that went in. And then he did other lines in my left forearm right here. There was another line that was put in my underarm here. I didn't feel that one go in. There were other lines that also went in to my arm here. These were arterial lines. You can see the bruising here. I'll remove my watch real quick so you can kind of see that bruised area. I don't know if it's showing up well here, but there's this sort of bruise that runs along here. And then you can see the incision point right here. There's a little hole right there. So that went in there as well. And then shortly thereafter, they knocked me out. I mean, I had to just sort of zen out as much as possible during that time to just process the general discomfort of the experience. But anyway, at that point, they kind of knocked me out. And when I woke up, I was still intubated. So intubation means that they have a breathing tube in your mouth going down your throat. And that's in there in order to try to make sure that your lungs are getting the oxygen that they need. But when I came to, and this is a normal part of the procedure, I'm not totally sure why it's done this way. I'm sure there's a good reason. I haven't had time to really research this piece of it. But typically you come out, you're still partially anesthetized in terms of being sedated, but they want to see that you're breathing on your own for about 30 minutes before they remove that tube. Probably a safety precaution to make sure that your lungs are working properly again. So this was when I woke up from this and I was awake but still somewhat sedated, I had some very difficult moments. I was intubated for about 90 minutes coming out of the deep sedation. And they kept telling me to stay awake, but they were trying to sedate me. I couldn't really communicate with them in terms of what I needed. I was trying to just sort of settle down and regulate my breathing. And then they kept sedating me, thinking that I was panicking. And I tried to communicate with them by tapping my hand, but I couldn't say anything. So finally, what ended up working was just trying to relax, just do what they asked, which was breathe. And then, once I had done it long enough, they came and said, we're going to take the tube out. And then it came out slowly. And after that, it took a while to be able to talk. I mean, my vocal cords were creaky and dried up, and it took a while to be able to get my voice back. This catheter here was still in place. It served as an IV for certain medicines that they gave. The one in the left side on my forearm here was also in, as well as one that was, there was another one on the right side that was in here too, up on my right arm here. So once I came out, I was able to start trying to relax. So now the other thing that was in was a tube in my chest. So they put in a drainage tube. There's the incision where they go in to access the aortic valve. There's also a drainage tube because when you do this procedure, the fluid that's created from the inflammation of the process, as well as the fluid that's drained from when they access the sac in your heart that needs to be opened up in order for them to be able to access the heart and work on it. That fluid basically gets spread throughout your chest. So they add a drainage tube in lower here, and my incision for that is about here. It's stitched up at the moment, and here you go. I'll show it to you. We have it covered. So that's the incision where they went in, and then the drainage tube is right here. We just currently have it covered but it's basically a line with a couple of stitches in it here. So, so that tube was really painful. And it was painful not just here, but it was painful on my back in the area where the ribs that it was between up here were being spread apart. So I had a lot of mid-back pain from this. So it made it really difficult to try to rest for the first number of hours where it was in. I had to work really hard to try to make sure that I got functional despite the pain, so that I could get myself into a position to have that tube removed. I was lucky. Things drained out. The fluid drainage the rate seemed to come down relatively quickly for me, and they got the tube out. My surgery was on the Tuesday. They came out Wednesday afternoon and had the tube removed. Once that came out, the pain in my back started to settle down, but it's still there right now. I still have an ache and an uncomfortable feeling when I cough and sneeze. The other thing that was in was a catheter, so that they could collect a urine. I've never had one before. I hope I never have to have one again. The removal of that was probably the most painful piece of the whole experience, maybe next to the coming out with the intubation. So, but again, this is major surgery to save your life. There's going to be pain. It's not going to be perfect. But man, I hope I never have to have a catheter again, because coming out, that really sucked. So glad it got out. And I had I think the blood in my urine, I'm 4 days out now from the surgery. The blood in my urine started diminishing on Thursday afternoon, and less of it on Friday. It's become less uncomfortable to urinate at this point. So, necessary stuff so that they can monitor you and keep you safe. But boy, that was a very painful piece. So if you're having this surgery, just make sure you're prepared to deal with that. So that was coming out of surgery and what was going on that first day. Let me add one more thing, and I talk about this a little more in a subsequent video where I talk about what it's felt like in the next couple of days and on my first day home. The other thing I experienced was I noticed some very sharp pain that felt like, all I can describe, it felt like there was broken glass in my quads, in the front of my legs, in the upper legs and the thighs. I think this is from just nerves being irritated and the blood vessels themselves being irritated during the catheterization procedures that they did. So anyway, part of the process, you have to embrace it as you're going through this stuff to be able to get through it. But this is something that I've been working on recovering from right now. I've got more info about this in a follow-up video where I talk about my first day home here. So anyway, that's how it was the first on surgery day and the day after. The catheter that was in my throat stayed in until Thursday. The catheter that was accessing my bladder came out on Thursday as well. I did start to feel a lot better once the chest tube came out. So, we're on to a better piece of the process now, but very thankful that it was done. So, and once again, I will say thank you to Dr. Dulab and his team for helping me, because this was a very intense experience in life for me. And if I've offered any information here that's helpful to anyone who's about to go through this process, I'm hoping that's the reason I'm doing this. So if any of my friends who have connections with me on social media, which is likely where you're going to see this, have this type of thing coming up, or have someone in their life who has some type of heart surgery coming up and would like to chat with me about my experience, feel free to connect with me. Send me a personal message through our social media connections, and I'd be more than happy to have that conversation. So that's what I got today. Enjoy your day, gang. Stay healthy.